Good morning. This video is for discussion module 2 video forum, and the answers will be based off the textbook and the personality in crime are some people crime prone article. The question is, a researcher finds that certain personality traits are more common among prison inmates than among people in general population. Does this mean that such traits cause crime? If not, why not? I will support my answers with specific reference to the article in question. What I understand from this question is that there are certain traits that are obviously going to be more common within people in prison and inmates, but that does not mean that those traits specifically make it more likely for people to commit crime or that it causes crime. So my short answer to the question is that no, I do not believe that these traits that I mentioned cause crime. The first thing that I want to mention is how the authors in the article talk about how certain negative emotional traits such as anger, hostility, or being a hostile person are more common among people who commit crimes. But this does not necessarily mean that being someone who has these type of traits is a cause and effect when it comes to crime. For example, let's say a kid at school who's having another argument with another kid, and the other kid said something that the kid doesn't like, and his first reaction is to shove them, and then eventually this is going to keep escalating. I believe that's what the authors are referring to, that having these type of traits depends on the situation, but it can influence how a person is going to act. It is not going to make them do certain acts just based on these traits. To support this claim, I want to talk about the multidimensional personality questionnaire, which is basically an assessment of people's normal range, like certain traits within themselves. And I'm gonna start a quote from the article. Start quote: persons involved in serious criminal behavior scored significantly lower on MPQ constraint and significantly higher on negative emotionality. To me, this just proves that, let's say, individuals that score higher on the constraint level are less likely to be involved in situations where they could beat a crime. It does not mean that they are not going to commit this crime. So this basically supports the idea that people that score less, yes, they're more likely, but it does not mean that they are going to commit a crime. Lastly, I do want to tie the textbook for this class to the explanations that I provided. As the authors in Volt's theoretical criminology says, we have to be careful with the ecological fallacy. Just because inmates score higher on traits that are hostile or things like anger, it does not mean that this makes them more likely to commit a crime. We also have to take into account other factors such as the environment, the social life that they have, and what their background is.